Well, ladies and gentlemen, for the 300th time, good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and for the 300th time, as mentioned, welcome in, folks, to the WNBA 365 Network, live and in full this evening, here from Studio 171 in San Diego and across the U.S. Joined tonight, folks, by right now a three-man broadcast crew. We'll be waiting on Tanisha Stewart to join us here momentarily, but joining us tonight is Eric Nimchok, the tremendous writer from today's Fast Break in Elmhurst, Illinois, and, of course, Crystal Thomas up in Los Angeles, and for the 300th time again, Cal McClure joining you folks here in studio from Studio 171 in San Diego. Crystal and Eric, good to see you guys. And again, 300th time we've come to the folks here on the network this evening. Again, I'm part of another historic night here for the network. Good to see you guys. How's it going tonight?
Hey.
Eric gives two thumbs up. I like it. And, of course, folks, like we said, as normal, Facebook and Twitter are open for you folks at facebook.com/WNBA365 or find us on Twitter at WNBA365, at Calamac3, at ShortyMamba24, at Pup1010, or at Nemchocky with the hashtag WNBA365. Or if you're viewing us live tonight, folks, hit the chat box and send us anything about the games, or if you want to congratulate us again, folks, on our 300th show this evening. Here in a little over 2 years and 5 months into the equation, guys. We'll get through the two games and kind of sit back and talk about the 300 show tonight. We'll get to the first game tonight, the Fever and Sparks, and the Fever handing LA back-to-back losses for the first time all season. Indiana beating LA 92-82 tonight. Rough couple games for Los Angeles. Highlighted tonight by Christy Tolliver with 18 points, Nneka Ogwumike with 16, Candace Parker with 15, Jantel Lavender with 12. Essence Carson with 8, Elena Beer with 7, Evgenia Belikova with 4, and Chelsea Gray with 2. Anna Dabovic, Jelena Dublovic, Whitney Knight, on Waters, all DNPs. Coach's decision for the Indiana Fever. Tamika Catchings got hot quickly, and it was not easy for LA after that. 23 points for Catch, 14 for both Kaiser and Wheeler, 12 each for January and Johnson. Mitchell with 6, Coleman with 5, Larkins with 4, Poland with 2, Natalie Achanwa, Maggie Lucas, Deborah Peters, all 3. DNPs tonight for the Indiana Fever. The game played from Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. Total attendance this evening, 7,269. Time of the game, 2 hours and 2 minutes. The officials tonight were Sue Bloch, Maj Forsberg, and Jeff Smith. No texts and no times the lead changed hands or the game was tied this evening. So, Crystal, okay, a couple of potholes here on the LA freeway so far, with them, again, suffering back-to-back losses, now 20-3. Now, the only bright side, I guess, for the Sparks, despite of these two losses, Crystal, was with the Chicago win over the Mercury about 10 minutes ago. That actually gives LA the first playoff berth or first playoff ticket punched to the postseason party. But again, Crystal, okay, maybe the road trip is kind of weighing its ugly head on LA again. 4 games and like 7 games in like a span or whatever the trip is for Los Angeles to end the first half of the season. So again, Crystal, we've seen some defensive lapses. We've seen some kind of okay, so there goes Crystal. So Eric will just hang out for us two right now. But I guess, Eric, to go with you to start here, I guess. Overall thoughts on the past 2 LA losses in your mind? Again, seeing a team that was, again, on the cusp of history, but, again, a couple of potholes in the road for them. What are you seeing differently from LA these past 2 games or from tonight as opposed to the previous games that they had won and lost?
I think it's I mean, the first thing that I noticed is that it looks like they have tired legs, which is totally understandable considering this is their 4th game in 7 days, I believe. So, I mean, they've been on the road for a very long time, and it's understandable that they're going to be a little tired. But their execution on defense just hasn't been there. I would say, like you said, mental lapses over and over and over again. Just really bad help side defense, lack of rotations, poor man-to-man defense, just whatever. They're just not. They came into the road trip as the best defensive team in the league, I believe, but they have been anything but the past 2 games.
Yeah, and Crystal, as Eric said, though, I mean, this has been at least the 4th game they played on this road trip again, and it was Chicago, it was Connecticut, traveling then to Atlanta, then back traveling up again once more, again to play the Fever today, and then it goes on to D.C. on Friday. But again, Crystal, sort of in a way, I'm not going to go full-blown here, but say that L.A. kind of reverted back to playing these past 2 games like they played for the first half last season. Just bad defense, no offensive firepower. And again, the fatigue perhaps there, of course, with the travel. But I guess just looking, like I said, the lone bright spot again is LA gets that first-class ticket to the playoffs this year. Again, they can't finish worse than 6th, I believe, what we had heard or seen from the playoff scenarios today. But I guess, Crystal, overall thoughts on tonight's LA loss and along those well with the recent 2 losses, what has been different for them as of late?
Just like Eric said, sorry that my computer cut off, by the way. But I think just what Eric said. I mean, once you've been on a road trip for, was it 7 games? Was it like 4 games in 7 days?
Mhm.
Fatigue does start to take a toll on your body. And honestly, I'm not surprised on how the game started to look. If you remember watching the Connecticut game, they kind of showed glimpses of, I guess, the inevitable 2 losses that they suffered today in that game. But it's not time to press a panic button. It's only 2 games. It's only 2 bad games. There's no need to talk about firing coaches. There's no need to talk about, um, oh, I hope they lose these games so they can recoup. It's no need for that. It's just, it happens. It's road trips. LA will be okay. They clinch the playoffs. People can get their panties out the wad. Coaches don't need to. Nobody needs to get fired. I mean, it happens. I think in Washington will probably play just a little bit better. Okay, I mean, I don't think there's anything to panic about. I think the break will do them very good justice. And honestly, I think it's just fatigue.
Eric, I'm going to go back and say this is fatigue again. Now, again, I know that LA had played so many games in such a short span of time. Again, it's tough to travel, especially when you're staying in one time zone. At least that kind of, I guess, is a bit of some beneficial thoughts. Yes, you go from the central time zone in Chicago, then you work your way east. So I guess that's not too much of a problem. But again, there has been some minor lapses again, but those can easily be polished up during the break because, as we know, again, there will be no LA players going to the Olympic Games to represent Team USA. More so, it won't be any big names a la Parker, Wnba, Lavender, so on and so forth. But I guess, Eric, as you kind of think about LA going forward, again, they again clinched the playoff berth with the Chicago win over the Mercury earlier this evening. But I guess, Eric, I know that there probably is no need to panic, but I guess, Eric, to kind of, I guess, in a nutshell, once more, any final takeaway, I guess, from seeing LA's performance the past couple games? What is it and why?
It's a long season. I mean, you can't expect a team to lose like one game all season. That's not realistic. The talent level in this league is too high. The travel situations are too unfair for the teams because they don't have their own jets like the NBA players do. I mean, it's you can't be playing at a 20-1 pace the entire season. It's just not realistic. So just a lot of basketball left to be played, and the Sparks just have to tighten up what they've been doing wrong.
Absolutely. We'll get now, folks, some of the commentary, of course, folks, on our 300th show. Some good responses tonight so far. First, from one of our good viewers, from Christy Wilson, who says, hey, guys, and congrats on show number 300. To some of the talk from the L.A. game so far from our good buddy Todd Mintz, joining us from Orange County, California. He said that L.A. did have 19 turnovers. That is the main reason. They looked a bit tired. The defense has not been as strong. They have had no real transition points either in this game. Christy also says LA looked tired in her eyes as well, and then Todd also does go on to say as well, the defense gave them a lot of open looks. They also allowed Indiana too much penetration inside. Sparks' one weakness, his handling big, muscular power players on the basket. Nneka was, again, the only consistent player going 6 for 11 from the field, and Lavender was good, but I wish she had gotten more chances. And Christy also says, don't think the Sparks need to panic, and Todd says no panic, long road trip plus the break, and he also says congrats on the 300 show. So, Crystal, now to the Indiana Fever again. They're only one of 3 teams to beat Los Angeles so far this season, Crystal. Again, that's the Fever, Dream, and Lynx who've all beaten the Sparks so far, and they got a very, very kind of blast from the past performance from their leader, Tamika Catchings, tonight again, who had 23 points and balled out. Again, pretty much saying, we're not going to be denied. We're not scared or intimidated by this LA record again. 5 players for the Fever in double digits tonight. So, Crystal, overall final takeaway of the Fever's victory over LA from their side of the story. What do you think?
It was a good win for Indiana. I mean, Indiana played LA exactly what they wanted to do when they came out. They knew how to stop LA, and they did. I mean, it was a good win. I mean, that's all I can really say. It was just a good win for them. They played LA well. They really wanted it up there, and it showed. But need to panic.
Eric, again, like I said, Tamika Catchings basically said, we're not going to be denied today. We're going to go out there and play as hard as we can. Again, she drops 23 points. Probably one of her better games of the season so far for Catch. 8 of 13 from the field and 3 of 4 from beyond the arc, and made all 4 of her free throws as a plus 10 in efficiency. Also had 4 steals, of course, as we know. Catch is that very spirited, balls to the wall type of defender for her. Of course, she's been that way her whole career. But I guess, Eric, overall thoughts on Catch's all-around game for the Fever in your mind? What do you think?
Tamika Catchings, she's been a kind of a matchup problem for her entire career, right? So I think she was able to use her quickness and athleticism at the 3 position, because now that they've got Kaiser in the starting lineup, she kind of switches back to a more of a 3-type player. And she's just able to use her quickness and her just overall skill level to kind of worm around the LA, the size of LA. And obviously, the turnovers for LA were huge. Tanika Catchings causing 4 of them with 4 steals. And there's nobody better at turning defense into offense than Tamika. We've seen that forever now. So, yeah, it's just a combination of just using what she's good at and playing within the team defense to the best of her strengths.
What we would pay to have her play one more season next year just for the heck of it. But again, folks, Fever over the Sparks, handing the Sparks their 3rd loss, and back-to-back losses for the first time all year. Again, Fever doubling up LA 92-82 from the Fieldhouse up there in downtown Indiana. Last game of the night, guys, was the Sky and Mercury from Talking Stick Resort Arena, Chicago. Stand up. Final buzzer again, back-to-back buzzer beaters on the road trip. Sky edged the Mercury at the final horn, 79-77 from the Purple Palace in downtown Phoenix. Elena Deladon, 18 points. Jamira Faulkner with 14. Cappy Pondexter with 11. Courtney Vandersloot with 10. Jessica Breland, 9 points, including for Breland the game-winning basket with 2 seconds left to give the Sky the victory. Imani Boyette with 6. Tamara Young with 5. Allie Quigley with 4. And Cheyenne Parker with 2. Benai Jelani DNP due to that injured ACL. For the Phoenix Mercury this evening, Dewana Bonner with 20 points, Candice Dupree with 18, Diana Taurasi with 13, Lindsey Harding with 8, Marta Chagre and Kelsey Bone with 5 each. Brittany Griner with 4 points was also tossed, along with Cappy Pondexter in this game. Misty Bass and Alex Harden with 2 each. Isabel Harrison, Sonja Petrovic, and Penny Taylor, all DNPs. Of course, Petrovic gone away now on Olympics duty. The game played tonight from Talking Stick Resort Arena in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. Time of the total attendance today, 9,318. Time of the game also, 2 hours and 2 minutes. The officials today were Tom Nunez, Billy Smith, and Isaac Barnett. 1 tech on each team this evening. 9 lead changes, and 8 times the game was tied. And inactives tonight were both De Souza and Dos Santos, both away with the Brazilian national team getting set and prepped for the Rio Olympics. So, Eric, first and foremost, before we get anything again, 2 techs and 2 more ejections tonight. Both Cappy Pondexter and Brittany Griner ejected in the game late in the 4th quarter due to an altercation. And again, Eric, I know that this is not the first time you've seen Griner tossed from a game. That also was her 6th technical foul. 1 more tech, and that'll be a suspension for Griner as well for 1 game. So, Eric, before we get to the game, I guess, we've seen a few minor dust-ups between some players already this year, whether it was L.A. and Dallas a couple weeks ago with Candace Parker and Glory Johnson and Aaron Phillips getting involved, and then now, of course, tonight it was Griner also getting involved with Cap this evening, and we've seen a few others. And I guess your overall thoughts, Eric, on seeing that again transpire again this evening. Again, it's at least the 3rd time we've seen some type of minor scuffle or minor altercation between between some players in the league. What do you think?
I don't really have any thoughts on it. I mean, it's just you got to keep your cool. You got to keep your head in the game. I mean, that it was pretty. I'm frankly not sure what Cappy Pondexter did to warrant an ejection. I'm not just saying that as a Sky fan. I mean, I really didn't see. She probably deserved a technical, sure, because she kept yapping. But I mean, Griner definitely deserved the ejection because she just reached out and shoved Cappy in the face. But obviously, I think the refs they needed to get control of the game or whatever, so they just tossed Cappy too. I don't know. But yeah, you can't do that on the basketball court. Like you get 2 technicals for a reason, Like once you get the first tee, that means you have to shut up, right? Not the case tonight. Just nothing beyond. Just you got to keep your cool, and once you hear that first whistle, just stop because you're going to hurt your team.
Crystal, I was always told to play with controlled emotion again, as you're not going to get, too high or too low during the course of a game. And again, this was a case, though, where emotions definitely got the best of Brittany Griner, who we know, of course, Crystal was best known for that right-hand cross she threw during her college career at Baylor. Of course, she got a couple pretty hefty suspension from the NCAA for that altercation. We've already seen her and Diana Taurasi both go after referees this year. We have seen some other minor scuffles this year. But again, Crystal, overall, final observation or final thoughts again about, again, sort of playing with too much emotion between both Pondexter and Griner that resulted in both players getting tossed and teed up tonight in the game?
Brittany Griner's just got to be more mature in that aspect. We've had questions about this before if Brittany Griner actually matured, if she was mature enough to to handle situations like this. For a minute there, we thought she might have been, but I agree with Eric. Watching that play, I don't see how Cappy got ejected. I do understand the tech because they did kind of say some words. They probably said a lot of forget yous and I love yous and your mom did this and your father. There's probably a lot of that going on, but I don't know if Cappy should have got ejected because I didn't see Cappy throw any punches. I didn't see her throw any elbows or anything. Whereas Brittany Griner, took her whole face and took her whole hand and just pretty much shoved Cappy in the face. And I think Pokey did a good job of stepping in before Cappy made it. Before it became a. I mean, she's not playing very good this year, and I think all the stuff that's happened in the off season and whatever's going on with her mentally kind of just probably all came out on that play, and I just think she has to be better and has to mature as a person and a player.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, Eric, as you now go to the game, Eric, again. So it's now back-to-back games where Chicago wins the game at the final buzzer. It was, of course, they won the game on Sunday in Seattle at the final buzzer on a made shot by EDD. Then tonight it's Jessica Breland, Eric, again, who only had, she had, 9 points, but, 2 of those 9, though, Eric, are the most crucial points that was at the final buzzer to give the victory. So, Eric, I know that a lot of our Sky friends, yourself included, again, had some minor technical problems trying to watch the game today. But, Eric, I guess overall thoughts, again, on a pretty big win for the Sky on the road in a very, very tough building to win in, of course, in TSRA down there in Phoenix.
Okay, that was my face when I realized I couldn't watch the game. It was not fun at all because I missed the entire first half. And I had to watch on some bootlegs because, of course, League Pass gets blacked out because I'm in the area. So I'm supposed to be able to watch the game on TV. But no, they wouldn't let me do that either. So I was shocked and appalled and making this face. But when I was able to watch it, Chicago had another one of those Chicago third quarters in which they get doubled up. I think it was 26-13 or something like that. So that wasn't very good. I think Phoenix, when you talk about a player getting ejected, like a big scrum like that, and then it takes them forever to sort it out. Like those refs were at the monitor for 10, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, just a really long time. When you talk about something like that happening, it's always, oh, well, who's going to get the momentum now? Chicago was up by, I think, like 10, 12 points when that happened, and then the Mercury just blew the doors off. Like, they went on this huge run. Wnba Bonner was hitting threes. Tarazi was hitting threes. Chicago couldn't close out on defense. It was just bad overall. So Phoenix definitely took the momentum swing from the little scrum or whatever you want to call it. But and then Chicago, I think Chicago really showed a lot of resiliency because they were down so many players. Obviously the Brazilians, Dos Santos and De Souza are in Brazil, obviously getting ready for the Olympics. Shine Parker got hurt again, and Cappy got tossed. So they really didn't have that many players, which is difficult, obviously, but they're able to keep it together with a very, very short rotation and kind of eke out a victory there. It wasn't really exciting as more as it was confusing because we weren't sure if Breland got the shot off or not, and it was just like, that game's over. Like, can we move on? Can we move on now? Like, can we move on to a healthy, full roster now? I don't know, but yeah, really close game, especially towards the end when teams were just trading buckets, and just excited as a Sky fan to get the win. And for Phoenix, you got to get some rebounds, man. Like that's you saw it on the last play. You got to get some rebounds because you get one rebound, that game's going to OT. That's all I got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Crystal, so a couple of stats here from our stat rat Todd Mintz. He does go on to say real quick, Crystal, and this is kind of to clean up too, or kind of add on to what Eric had said. Phoenix was down in this game 44-30. They went on a 17-2 run after the altercation ended, and they ended up going up 47-46. Then they ended up leading 73-66, and then as we said, Chicago kind of rallied back and they put up 26 in the fourth quarter. And again, like I said, Jessica Breland, the 2 of her 9 points were the biggest ones again, which were of course the ones that were the game-winning baskets, or basket, I should say. So, I guess Crystal, final thoughts on Chicago's side of the story here with this win tonight at the final buzzer over the Mercury.
I mean, the great Eric Nemchok pretty much said all the thoughts that I would have had. So thank you, Eric, for stealing my thoughts. But, I mean, like you said, there was a point when Chicago was up pretty big and they ended up losing control. Something that us LA fans know a lot about, because there'll be a lot of times where LA will be up by 10 and then messed around and only win by 3. But it was for Chicago. I think this game took a lot of grit. It took a lot of heart for them, and they pretty much showed that they have heart to get it done. And they're a tough team. They can rally back. They rallied back. Unfortunately, it was through an unfortunate circumstance, but they ended up managing to do it. But yeah, Eric pretty much just said everything that I was gonna say.
Crystal, we'll stay with you as we go out to the Mercury again. And Eric kind of said that the momentum kind of swung, I guess, kind of following the little mini scuffle we had down there at TSRA again. Once more, again, this is another case, though, Crystal, again, of the Mercury, again, building a big lead, again, as you kind of alluded to, but again, they always seem to find a way to let the other team come back in, or they end up losing the game. And once more, defensive woes again for Phoenix again, and they once more find a way without Brittany Griner again, who, by the way, Todd says, frankly, he doesn't believe that Griner or Cap should have been tossed, but he says he feels Griner got tossed for recent reputation towards the officiating crews in these games. But I guess, Crystal, is there any final thoughts about the Mercury side of the story again with them having a colossal-sized lead, and again, they blow it once more, and again, lose another game? What do you think? All right, so Crystal's having some more technical problems. Crystal, you back with us yet? Okay, we'll take that as a no. But I guess, Eric, I guess I'll kind of throw that one your way now, I guess. So, I know that we kind of have sat here pretty much all year, I guess, through 9 weeks of the season again, just kind of talking about the problems that the Mercury have had. Eric, I know that rebounding has been a big problem for Phoenix, but I guess maybe other than rebounding, Eric, what else has been Phoenix's downfall recently in games that they have had big leads and they've choked it away?
Their defense has also been pretty bad, especially in transition. I mean, this shouldn't be something you're saying when you have Brittany Griner on your team, but I think her defensive effort has been subpar for her standards anyway. And then other than that, you don't really have a lot of lockdown defenders on the perimeter. Alex Harden is excellent defensively, but she doesn't play that much. And other than that, you don't really have anybody who can keep their man in front. And it's hard when you're constantly letting people get into the paint like that. Brittany Griner's getting into foul trouble a lot. That doesn't help. Just poor defensive rotations all around, and especially in transition, like missing post players running straight to the hoop. It's pretty embarrassing, to be honest. And then tonight they also got outshot 23-12 with the free throw line. That's also a big difference. And out rebounded again. I believe they're the worst rebounding team in the league right now, or maybe the second worst. I'm not sure, but if you have somebody who's 6'9" in your starting lineup, that shouldn't be a concern.
Crystal, we'll go back to you again, just kind of to rehash the point again. We've talked about the Phoenix Mercury's defensive lapses so far, but again, Todd again says that he feels that both Pondexter and Griner should not have been tossed, but he says Griner got ejected though in his mind for her recent reputation towards the officiating crews. So there's one big blow, of course, they're rebounding. Again, they're pretty, they're rough rebounding, but I guess, Crystal, other than maybe the rebounding and maybe defense, but what has been Phoenix's other problems that they've dealt with all season so far in regards to how they played so far this season in your mind?
Okay, am I good? Can you hear me?
You're good.
I have to disagree with Todd on that one. I think Griner rightfully was tossed. You can't, no matter the situation in a game, no matter how frustrated you are, you can't just muff somebody in the face and think that that's okay. I mean, that is an ejection. It's kind of pretty much just like throwing a punch at a player. You can't do that. And honestly, if Cappy would have swung back on her, I wouldn't have been mad. I mean, you can't just hit somebody in the face and think that that's cool. I have to disagree with you on that one. And I agree with Eric. I mean, Phoenix, they can't rebound. They can't really defend very well. All they can do is score, and they could barely do that now because, some of their options, they don't have any scoring options either if you think about it. There's some games where the well goes dry for Diana, and there's games like tonight where the well went dry for Griner, even though Griner did get ejected, but still, she should have done a lot more in the minutes that she played. And they're rebounding. I believe they are one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, and you can't. No wonder they're not winning that many games. Like like Eric said, you have a 6'8", 6'9" center down there that's supposed to be just grabbing everything that comes her way, and she can't seem to do it. So I'm not surprised Phoenix is having their issues, because once you look at the stats, you realize that rebounding and defense is one of their main issues that they should focus on. But I mean, it is kind of sad to see Phoenix on a decline as a team. But I mean, we'll see what happens after Olympic break.
By the way, folks, checking the Olympic breaks, getting close to the Olympic break standings, we're checking the WNBA vacation standings so far in the WNBA so far. Out east, it is New York 17-7, Atlanta 12-11, Indiana 11-12, Chicago 11-12, Washington 9-13, and Connecticut 6-16. Out west, it is LA 20-3, Minnesota 19-4, one game behind. Phoenix is 10-14, Dallas 9-14, Seattle 8-14, and San Antonio 5-17. Those are the standings right now at our vacation periods once more. But again, today's scores at least, folks. Indiana beats Los Angeles 92-82. And the Sky at the final buzzer take down the Mercury at Talking Stick Resort Arena 79-77. All right, guys, 4 games on the vacation travel day scheduled tomorrow. All of them afternoon games due to it being camp days again for all 4 games tomorrow, beginning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. And so games tomorrow will be at 8:30 a.m., 9:30 a.m., high noon, and also, excuse me, at 11 a.m. and also at high noon tomorrow. Starting off, Crystal and Eric with the Liberty and Mystics at 8:30 Pacific time, 11:30 Eastern in the morning on League Pass, Monumental or MSG. Crystal, what do you think here? Liberty or Mystics? What do you think and why?
I'm gonna have to go with the Liberty. I do think the Mystics are a team that are gritty enough to get a win over a team like a team like that. I mean, we've seen them beat Minnesota, who's second in the league, so anything is possible. But I'm gonna have to go with Liberty because they have someone called Tina Charles, that standing center, who's just not gonna let anyone come and dominate.
You know, Eric, we've seen the Mystics already beat Minnesota. They almost got to Los Angeles last Sunday at Staples Center and almost upset them. But Eric, what do you think though here? Liberty at Mystics tomorrow morning. What do you think?
I'm going to go with the Liberty, but I wouldn't be surprised if Washington pulls the upset. I agree with Crystal. I think the Mystics match up better with the Liberty than most people, but Tina Charles, they don't really have anybody to stop her, especially with Stephanie Dolson kind of underachieving so far this season. And yeah, I think New York is starting to find something with their bench. They're getting more confidence in their post players coming off the bench. Who else? Rebecca Allen. She's been playing really well since coming over from Australia. So I think New York actually has the depth to battle with them now. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I think New York has the depth battle, plus, of course, the post of Tina Charles being down there. So we'll all go with the Liberty on the road for the first game. Next game, guys, at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 Eastern. Sun at Wings on NBA TV or Fox Sports Southwest. Crystal, who do you got and why? Sun or the Wings?
I'm gonna go with Dallas. I mean, that's a tough one too because both of them, they I'm gonna go with Dallas though, but I think it's gonna be a close game. I'm gonna say like Dallas by 5.
So she'll go with Dallas. Eric, what do you think and why?
I think I'm actually gonna go with Connecticut on this one. I think since the Kelsey Bone trade, they've been playing a lot better. They put themselves in a better position. Wnba has been playing 30 minutes a game now. They're able to get players who can stretch the floor from the 4 spot, and their guards have been playing better. I think they've been able to actually figure out, the rotations that they've been wanting to use, because before they just had too many people. They had too many players, only one ball to go around, but now I think they've got their rotation set. They're able to kind of execute what Kurt Miller wants them to do on a more consistent basis. And Dallas has kind of been struggling with injuries and what have you. So I think Connecticut's actually in a good position to win this game.
Yeah, so again, that is Sun and Wings, folks. I'm going to go with Connecticut in this one as well. I think, like Eric said, though, guys, I think that how we've kind of seen the Sun really, it seemed like that they kind of have gotten better team chemistry, I think, with that trade of Kelsey Bone, of course. And that's sort of been, it's an intangible, but of course it doesn't win you or lose games, but they have played better, more inspired basketball. So I'll go with the Sun on the road at Dallas tomorrow as well. Next game, guys, at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 1 o'clock on the East Coast. Dream and Lynx, a rematch of the 2011 and 2013 WNBA Finals coming up as well. That game is exclusively on League Pass tomorrow. Again, Atlanta and Minnesota. Crystal, who you got and why?
Minnesota. I don't think Atlanta can push through. I mean, they are a tough team, but I don't think Atlanta could push through enough to beat Minnesota. So I'm going to go with Minnesota.
So one vote for Los Lynx. Eric, who do you think and why?
Definitely the Lynx for this game. I think they're going to start to get it back on track. I don't see anywhere where they're going to the Dream really match up well with Minnesota, because Minnesota doesn't really turn it over that often. Of course, because Atlanta thrives in transition. But if Minnesota can keep them off the line, I think they have a great shot at winning this game. So I'm going to go with the Lynx.
Yeah, and also, guys, as well, I mean, the recent track record, too, of how the Lynx always play well or play more in really no luck playing there in the playoffs or even in the regular season. So I'll go with the Lynx as well at home to be within a half game of LA for first place. And then, guys, the sort of late night but late afternoon game at high noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern. Stars and Storm on NBA TV or the local affiliate up in Seattle on Joe TV. Crystal, what do you think? Stars or Storm, and why?
Oh, definitely Seattle. I don't know if San Antonio has enough willpower to win. I don't know. San Antonio's been kind of disappointing this year, and for lack of a better term. Um, I just don't know if they can compete with Jewel Lloyd and Breanna Stewart and Sue Bird down there carrying the weight. So I'm gonna have to go with Seattle.
One vote for the Storm. Eric, who do you got and why?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle as well. I just can't pick San Antonio in any game right now. Ever since K-Mac went down, they've just been lacking a lot. I don't want to say there's not enough talent there, but I think they're just too young. Seattle's young too, but they have the Breanna Stewart factor, which kind of makes a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to go with Seattle.
Yeah, all of us going to go with Seattle as well because I think, as we said, whether it's a big deal, guys, or a little big deal, but I think though that the loss of, excuse me, the loss though of K-Mac has really been a pretty, a thorn in the side of the Stars all season. Again, that's a 5-17 record for the Stars this year that they're carrying in. But again, folks, all 4 games are all morning or afternoon games for the folks on the West Coast, and of course they're going to be kind of midday to late afternoon games for the East Coast folks. Again, that is Liberty and Mystics at 8:30 Pacific time tomorrow morning. 9:30 a.m. game, Sun and Wings. High noon game, or excuse me, 11 a.m. game, I should say, Dream and Lynx at 11 a.m. East Pacific time, and then at 3 o'clock Eastern high noon out in the West Coast, Stars and Storm. You can catch the Liberty and Mystics and Dream and Lynx all on League Pass, and you can catch the Stars and Storm and Sun and Wings all on NBA TV or the local affiliates of Monumental MSG, Fox Sports Southwest, or Joe TV in the Seattle area. Well, of course, Crystal and Eric, of course, tonight also, as we said again, marks the another feather in the cap, another milestone, of course, for us here on the network. Again, this is the 300th time we have Stream Day show here on the WNBA 365 network. Again, 300 shows this evening. Of course, guys, there was a story kind of rekilling the history of the network again. But 300 shows, guys, in 2 years and 7 months basically that we've been on the air here again. And again, what we have been able to do here, of course, after the rebrand, we've had a lot of good stuff here. Of course, we've had a lot of great people on between Crystal and Eric, Shorty, and Reagan and Marquez. And, of course, the draft day party where we had the largest hangout to network history, at least, with about 10 to 12 people in here. Plus, we had Derica Hamby of the San Antonio Stars, and we also had Ruth Hamblin from the Dallas Wings also joining the program that day. Crystal, as you sit here tonight again, this was an idea, like I said again, was done by a 20-year-old college student who tried his best to sort of I guess kind of try to help out the WNBA in a very small capacity by try to get them some positive, feel-good media coverage, and it's kind of blossomed what it's been though. So Crystal, as you kind of think about 300 shows, and you guys have been here for at least. I'll say maybe 90 to 100 of these you've been here for at least. Of course, we had some other appearances beforehand. But I guess, Crystal, now that you've been here for now 2 years now, 300 shows, Crystal, I guess, what are your thoughts, I guess, about how far this thing has come from being, kind of a little low-key thing to what it's become now for the entire women's basketball community?
I think it's come pretty far. Hopefully it comes even further. Hopefully it gets even bigger than it is, and hopefully 300 more of these will be made, and hopefully we'll go from small viewership to bigger viewership, and who knows, maybe we'll throw everybody a pizza party. I'm just kidding, but hopefully it does become bigger and better than what it is.
And Eric, I think back though to the point though where we were kind of in transition earlier on in the in last year's off season, and of course you had said, I like to see if I can help out with you guys at this point. I just want to see if if there's anything I can do to help. And I know that we know that you've been away though with Fast Break, and you've tried to come on here, of course, with helping us out. But I guess Eric, I know that you had watched us before the rebrand happened, and you wanted to kind of help out in some capacity. But now Eric, that you've been a part of the network here for a good part of the past few months, I guess, from what you've seen from from your time being on here, I guess. I guess kind of like, how far have we come, I guess, since you've kind of been a part of the program since October of last year, and where we've come now to 300 shows?
I think we've become more consistent in our airing, because we always have like 2 or 3 or 4 people on here, as Shorty just joins us now. Speak up the devil. Yeah, but because, we always have more people willing to contribute, and I think we also have more people, more fellow fans looking to comment in the chat box or on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever. So just, expanding slowly but surely. It's kind of hard to do when we're just a few, 20-year-olds sitting in our basements at night times just talking basketball. But it's, it's fun, and I think it helps us make good connections too as people, usually on Twitter. But met a lot of cool people doing this show, and yeah, just echoing what Crystal says, 300 more.
We now, folks, welcome in the featured guest tonight, of course, folks. A late add to our programming network is, again, Shorty Wnba 24. Denise Stewart will be sharing some of her stories on WNBA one-on-one Behind the Shades coming up next. But, Shorty, again, I know that we'll probably get your thoughts on the games momentarily, or maybe not. But, again, Shorty, I know that you were kind of with us at the forefront or the start of the network back in 2014, of course, based off the petition effort to keep the Sparks in L.A. that, of course, the fan base had put out. But, again, Shorty, we've been here now for 2 years. Now our 300 show tonight. I guess, Shorty, what are your thoughts about how far this is really coming in from being a very, very kind of low-key underground type of movement to where now, of course, we've had draft parties, we've had players on here, we've had so many great, media members that we know as friends come on here again, and that we've been here and sort of become, like I said a while back in, like the #1 kind of news hub. But like I said though in my story, this is WNBA TV for the WNBA women's basketball world. What do you think?
Most definitely, even though we haven't been on for that long, 2 years, as you pointed out, but it just shows the growth, of the network. I mean, we did, like you said, we started off pretty small, but then it ballooned into, something that none of us were expecting, We weren't expecting something as big as a draft party where we have, additional guests, join us in that show. But that was definitely a big show, and also other guests that you had on throughout, different broadcasts and things like that. So yeah, it was very, big for the network. We didn't think it would get this big, but it has ballooned over into, something else, and it's for, the good, for the good of the network, the good of, the league as a whole. So, I'm proud to be a part of it and a part of this 300th show that's going on right now.
Crystal, I think that, the show I'm going to probably take with me to my grave and, many years down the road for at least tonight is the draft party from this year again, because that was something that, of course, our great friend Anila Khan, our good friend from Toronto, of course, got involved with us. She had reached out to you, me, and Eric via email and saying, hey, we would love to really, join, that, we want to have, we want to throw this big thing, can you guys help us out and stream it for us? And of course, guys, we were here at 4 o'clock that afternoon. We pretty much talked the whole draft, and again, we had Anila and Myron and Caleb and so many great people joining us here on the program. But again, Crystal, again, to see the growth, I think more again about how we have been, pretty much we've been approached by many of our great media friends like Sue and Steve and, everyone that we know. So I guess, Crystal, would you pretty much say that we've kind of become, that we kind of have become the, the NBA TV version for the WNBA and women's basketball world again, with how we've had, such great interaction with, the media, with the league in itself?
The NBA TV version. Hopefully we can be that big. But I mean, I would say, we've done pretty well. People are starting to watch, which is all you can ask for. Like I said, I don't know why people want to see my face, because I don't think I'm that cool, But I mean, I think it's pretty cool how far this has gone, and I'm glad that people are, watching this and taking us somewhat seriously. I mean, that's all you can be asked for. But I mean, it's pretty awesome. I don't like that Shorty's on here. I'm just kidding. Shorty's awesome. Shorty's amazing. But I just think it's a pretty cool thing.
Eric, and also I kind of think back to when we had the 2-year special again. We had that 2-hour special back here on our 2-year anniversary again, and I remember I think a few things that that I think that you may have said in regards to growing this thing again. But like you said though, I mean that this is that you said that trying to think back, but I recall you saying in regards to this, in regards that you had said that goodness, now I can't even think about it now. Is that there needs to be more fan talk about the league and less fan gossip about the league in regards to what we've kind of seen happen either with the off season in regards to what's happened with Gilbert Arenas or with Brittany Griner and Glory Johnson. But again, Eric, do you agree though still with your point though that there needs to be more fan talk about the sport in league than just gossip about what's been going on or what does go on in the sport? What do you think? Do you still agree with that or why?
Definitely, I do. I think it delegitimizes the sport when you talk about player relationships or what they're feeding their dog or whatever. That's as somebody who wants to watch basketball, I don't care about that. And the basketball as a product is a legitimately good product. So there's really no reason to be gossiping about all that stuff. But I'm not really a chatty Cathy, so I'm not. To each their own, I guess. It's just good to have somewhere where I can actually talk about basketball, where I can actually say, hey, Glory Johnson had a 2020 game night. Isn't that great? Instead of, Glory Johnson played really well against her ex-fiancé. It's like, I don't care.
No, I totally get you on that one as well. And again, by the way, guys, a quick comment from Christy Wilson she says, very happy that I found this. Been a WNBA fan since the beginning. This place is great. And also, Shorty, that's also the reason why, though, this network has been here for 2 years and 300 shows is because we always get the backing and support of either Todd or whoever's in our chat box or our friends on Twitter because they, in a way, though, that while they may get tired of me being here for 300 shows and everybody else, but that they know that this is like their safe haven to come to and actually talk about the sport that they like or talk about their favorite teams and players because we've been here for, as I said, 2 years, 7 months and counting, and also along with, the 300 shows again. But that's why, though, sure, that we keep progressing and keep going on to another show, another night, is because we know that we have to, that we come here again to, talk about the sport, but also we engage. We allow people to chime in and add to our conversation. Shorty, I guess, I know that, of course, we have our friends or our circle of friends on Twitter or on Facebook with the sport. But again, Shorty, I guess, if there were no fans for us, you think we would be here for 300 shows in 2 years and 7 months?
I'm not really sure whether it comes to fan interaction or that sort of thing, but it's always good, to let their voices be heard, let them chime in, other than them hearing our opinions all the time. It's a good thing for the network to get feedback, to hear other voices and for them to let us know what they're thinking or in their minds about, each and every game or a certain player or whatnot. But it's good. It's always good to have that interaction, to have them engage. So yeah, they can continue to watch the network. And for you, Callan, I'm not sure why anyone would get tired of you. I mean, you're the man with the microphone, so you're always needed.
Yeah, well, and I guess as well, I think. And I think as well, too, the fact that I'm the guy that thought of this idea, when I was sitting in my studio here just thinking of ideas and, let me go and live stream the WNBA, and here it is now 2 years and 2 years and 5 months later. And by the way, Shorty, some good interaction on Twitter from the person to the left of you on the panel box. Crystal on Twitter says, Shorty with the new hair, ... So there you go with that one. But Crystal, as you do now come to you at this point, Crystal, well, then that means that Callan with the other, I guess, does that mean that, so Shorty with the new hair, does that mean that it's also Callan with the new hair too, I guess? I don't know, Crystal, but I'll take your opinion on that later. I got a bulk cut a couple days ago out of reference to somebody else I know. But Crystal, that's the thing, though, at the other point, though, is I love the fact, though, that for me, though, is is fan engagement is a lost art in sports television and sports radio because a lot of shows don't have open forums where you can, tweet in, Facebook in, or do something where you can actually get involved and actually, share your thoughts on what's going on. And Crystal, that's why I'm so flexible and lenient to allow the fans to write in, because I know that they have thoughts as much as we do, but also that maybe they can throw out a question or they throw out stats to us that we can read on the air. But again, Crystal, how important is though that there is fan interaction though, or some type of fan line between network television, network radio, or even in our case a YouTube channel about a sport, to allow the fans to actually let their voices be heard in your mind?
Well, you missed one tweet before I go in. First, the first one said Shorty's hair was popping or whatever, because I think it's cute. Shorty got the cute hair or whatever. And then I noticed your hair too, Callan. I was gonna say something about that, Callan, with the new hair as well. But I think the fan interaction is what makes the show fun. It's kind of like Sports Nation. I don't think Sports Nation does it anymore because they have a new setup. But if any of you guys are familiar with Sports Nation, they have the crowd ooh and ah and say a lot of things to get it going. But I think this show's cool because of that. For the most part, there has been nothing rude being said, which is good because sometimes you get kind of scared. You don't want people to start, talk about personal stuff. But honestly, I would just give it right back to them. So, but don't do that because I'm not trying to do that. Unless it's Eric, you can do whatever you want with him. But, yeah, I think it's pretty cool, and like you said, not many shows do that.
And Eric, and again, like I said, that's the biggest thing, though, of course, is another point you brought up, too, back on the 2-year anniversary show, of course, was, other than maybe, saying, going like this with the television when you agree with somebody or saying, screw this or whatever, that you can actually, write or type in your response to me or Shorty or Crystal or whoever's on the panel that night, and you will get some type of response, whether it's a question or stats being thrown away. But again, Eric, how important, I guess, is, though, that we have been able, again, to let the fans interact with us, though, during the course of an entire program in your mind?
It's amazing. It's everything, because the community is what's going to grow the sport, and we want the sport to grow. So it's only logical that we help, try to spread the community as much as possible. Like, we're all it's not like we're all big name people in here. We're just fans. We want to talk to other fans. So any way we can do that, why not?
Yeah, no, exactly. Again, folks, if you're still with us, folks, by the way, again, folks, just a reminder again, there will be another program coming up following this one tonight. Again, we will have a special edition of WNBA One-on-One Behind the Shades featuring Shorty Wnba 24 following our program here this evening. But again, once more, again, sharing some good stuff again from our 300th show, folks. Again, 2 years and 5 months ago, again, following the founding of the network. And, of course, guys, we had our 2-year anniversary. But, again, Shorty, I know that obviously we'll be taking a vacation again following following our programming tonight, of course. We'll be back with you folks again on August 6th. But, again, Shorty, I just kind of sit back, especially leading up to tonight again. I just, really sat here and thought, who would have thought that this thing that was built, 2 years ago, 2 years, 5 months ago, by some random college kid who was a very big fan of a sport would grow to what it's been. Of course, like I said, we were, in our early days, of course, we would, bring on, or we would, interact with, with players in the league on Twitter. We would bring on, media members. But again, Shorty, going from what it was, as LA Sparks 365 to our radio extension that we did for 7 shows up until our full rebrand now. Again, Shorty, I guess if there's Shorty, if there's one particular moment that kind of sticks out in your mind when you've been a part of our program, I know there's been a lot, but I guess if there's one big moment, I guess, that you can kind of remember best, I guess, what would it be and why?
The one thing that sticks out in my mind, I would say, is the draft party. I mean, I didn't even think the draft party would be as big as it was, even though I wasn't a part of it that day. But, I mean, my goodness, you had, like I said, a lot of, additional, commentators on, and it was really explosive. I think that show so far has the most views out of any other show because it was just a great event to happen for this network, and it was a pretty big deal.
And by the way, folks, Shorty's right. That is the most viewed show now on the program on the network. 440 views and counting still on our draft day show. So Crystal, Shorty's going to go with the draft day party. But I guess, Crystal, if there's one favorite moment or favorite show, I guess, that you can recall from any of the ones you've been on, or all 300, I guess. But if there's one that you can recall best, what is it and why?
It might have to be that one. Can you guys hear me? I feel like I'm not. Okay, it might have to be the draft show. That was of what we hope to keep coming. Having players on there who were nice and gracious enough to come talk to us. Special shout outs to Anelia for setting that up. Anila, I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry. This is. I'm sorry. You guys know my struggle with Kaya Stokes. Hey, look, I got it. So anyway.
She really thought she got it.
I thought I had it. Yeah, see, there you go. But yeah, I would say that show. That was cool to be able to talk to Ruth Hamlin right after she got drafted and see her excitement for that. I would say that show, and hopefully, like I said, we could do another one like that someday down the line.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that I have a few storyboarded ideas, but I guess, Eric, I know that again you joined us, I think, for the draft party from Buffalo Wild Wings in Chicago or in the Rosemont area. I guess, Eric, if there's any other show moments or memories you can recall best, if there is one, what is it and why?
I liked the draft party, even though I wasn't really there. I was there for the last minute or so, and then everyone left. I guess I made everyone run away or something. I don't know. Maybe. I liked the selection, the tournament show. We were on for 2.5 hours or something ridiculous, and we actually went through every single NCAA tournament matchup, and we made our picks and everything.
Creighton let me down.
We know that.
And I also liked the moment when Crystal paid me back my 50 cents. Oh wait, that never happened.
I say who's gonna go with that. Guys, I actually have a few comical ones, kind of away from the draft party or that one. If I can recall best, I believe it was the second night we were on the air when it was Back to the Future Day, and we had the Back to the Future soundtrack from Shorty's front porch playing in the background the whole entire program. That one was a good one. That was probably one of the best ones in the early part of the rebrand, of course, was Shorty was actually doing a show outside of her house for the first couple of days, and that was just pure comedy because anytime a car would go by, we would all bust up laughing because I think we were in the middle of recapping someone's season, and then that completely knocked us off our rocker. The night, I think, too, where I shot the show from L.A. and my spotty internet, and we all got kicked out of the hangout very late in the program when I was up in L.A. in November. That was another one. And probably recently was when Eric made his return back to the network after being away for a bit, and had the memes of the White Cat, Caveman SpongeBob, and Faria Abdi making an appearance. That's also one of my favorites too, along with the draft party and a lot of other things. But by far some of my highlights though from the 300 shows here again that we have done. I guess, guys, and all around to kind of wrap up here before we move on to our next show. Short, I guess, again, you'll be starting off the next 300 here. You'll be having show 301 coming up next. But, Shorty, before we wrap up, I guess, final thoughts, though, on the 300 shows again, milestone here for the network again, with show 300 here this evening.
Yeah, I'm just happy that, the show has made it that far. You bring up all the stuff that we been through, on this network, including my crazy soundtracks of passing cars, helicopters, and sirens and such. But all that, it was worth it, to be on this network and for all of us as WNBA fans to talk about, the favorite sport that we love. And, I'm proud, again, to be a part of this network, and hopefully it can continue to keep growing.
So again, Crystal, how about your final thoughts again on 300 network shows? Again, it's a big milestone, of course. I didn't think it'd be here this long, but what do you think though about your final thoughts about this historic night for us?
I mean, like Shorty with the new hair said, it has been an awesome experience. I am glad to be a part of it and have been a part of it as my niece bangs cups and bottles together because she's so excited. But I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm glad Shorty gets show 301. That's a cool title, Behind the Shades. She probably won't take the shades off, so you guys still won't know what she looks like.
That's why I named it Behind the
said that.
Shades, Miss Thomas. That's why it's called Behind the Shades. But again, Eric, I know, man, that you kind of came in and sort of saved the day for us, of course, when we had that open cast call. But again, Eric, 300 shows, of course, I didn't think we'd get here, nor that I think we would in the last 2 years, of course. But I guess, Eric, final takeaway or thoughts again from show 300 here this evening. What do you think?
A good show. It was a solid show. No better or worse than any of the other shows, I guess. Just thanks, guys, forever who's watching. Thank you for tuning in, and stay with us because we appreciate the support.
So with that, folks, we will take a brief break. We'll come back here in about 5 minutes or so with the newest edition of WNBA One-on-One and show number 301. Coming up next, of course, with Tanisha Stewart. She'll sit down and share some stories with me coming up next. Again, that is WNBA One-on-One Behind the Shades coming up next here. But with that, folks, for the 300th time, folks, I get to say this very famous but very screwed up and very, very fast auctioneer type signed off. But again, folks, for Eric Nemchok in Elmhurst, Illinois, Crystal Thomas up in Los Angeles, and also Tanisha Stewart joining us up in Los Angeles. This is Callum McClurg from Studio 171 in San Diego. Signing off, folks, up until we get back from vacation on August 6th. Please have a safe couple of weeks of vacation. Drive home safely. And again, thank you, folks, for being here for 300 WNBA Network shows. Of course, folks, we are all grateful, but of course, the sappy guy in San Diego who built this thing with his two bare hands 2 years and 5 months ago, who didn't think it would even last 2 years, nor 300 shows again, folks. I say thank you very much for being here and allowing us to be on your phone or be on your computer on a nightly basis to talk WNBA and women's basketball. Again, folks, up until Saturday night, August 6th, when we come back and visit you folks here for Olympic coverage. We'll see you folks then. But if you are going to be hanging out, folks, hang out with us one more time. We'll have another program again coming up next here once more with Tanisha Stewart here again, folks, coming up next here on WNBA One-on-One. For Eric, KT, and Shorty, and for the 300th time, folks, for Callan in San Diego, good night, and see you folks back here next month on August 6th, folks. Take care and good night. Bye-bye.